Hello, my name is Brad Sanker, co-chairman of the Clean Marina Partnership, which is sponsored by the State of Florida, the Department of Environmental Protection, and the U.S. Coast Guard. I would like to invite all Florida marina operators and boaters to please pay close attention to this video, which will introduce Operation On Guard, which is sponsored by the Coast Guard's Waterway Watch program. Essentially, this is a neighborhood watch on the water.
Labor Day weekend, which means that thousands of South Floridians are going to be hitting the waterways. And while they prepare to have a good time, the Coast Guard is working extra hard to keep potential terrorists off our coastline. The Coast Guard puts it in high gear and responds to a call of a suspicious person on a charter boat.
One of our charter boat captains noticed somebody that was videotaping and asking excessive questions about security around the cruise ships.
The FBI later learned Todd Malike, a taxi driver from New York, had been planning to buy explosives and arrested him.
Had he brought that explosive back down here to Miami, who knows, what he could have done with that. I'm Commander Armin Cate with the United States Coast Guard, and I'm here today at Coast Guard Base Miami Beach, right next to the Port of Miami, to talk to you about Operation On Guard, a part of America's Waterway Watch. This program, designed by the Department of Homeland Security, seeks to create another layer of protection around our ports and critical infrastructure by relying on you, the American boating public, and all those who work and play in the waters around our ports to report suspicious activity that may lead to the detection of a potential terrorist act. You can report any suspicious activity to 1-877-24-WATCH, answered at Coast Guard headquarters in Washington. Operation On Guard works. One of the success stories that you're about to see took place at the Port of Miami in March 2003 when an alert boater reported suspicious activity.
The vessel you see behind me is the vessel the incident took place on. Basically, red flags started going up one after the other. The individual sat up there right next to me on the platform, the captain's platform, and acted rather strangely. We got underneath our first bridge, was the General Douglas MacArthur Causeway Bridge, our 395, and started filming the underside of the bridges, which was kind of peculiar to me because most of the tourist traffic that we have on board takes a long shot of the bridge and is more interested in asking questions like who lives in this house and how much does that house cost? Or this individual is asking, can you stop the boat underneath the bridge? He's also taking photos with his camera phone and emailing it to some address that I later found out might have been some of his contacts in New York City. And he was also asking questions about the drawbridges, mechanisms of how they operate. Were they gas? Were they diesel? Also about the cruise ships. How close can you get to the cruise ships? Can you rent a jet ski? And so right at that time I asked my first mate to take the helm. I went down below into the salon and made a call to Homeland Security, and we were met on the dock by agents of FBI, Homeland Security, and the United States Coast Guard.
Come on down here, please. Coast Guard, Homeland Security.
They took him into the office and they came back and told me that he was from Afghanistan and had ties with Al-Qaeda.
What we want to do with this program, through your efforts, is to mobilize the people that work and live and operate their vessels on the waterfront. That's the area that we're tasked by the American people to secure as a border of the United States and as a potential area for disruption of our lifestyles. You are a critical component of maritime homeland security.
The Coast Guard is charged with port security. However, we cannot be everywhere 24 hours a day. That's why we need your help to report suspicious activity around our ports and critical infrastructure. For immediate emergencies, please call 911. If not, call the Coast Guard's terrorist hotline at 1-877-24-WATCH. Now you may ask, what's the importance of me calling if this is just one event? Well, there may be other calls about similar circumstances from Los Angeles, San Juan, or Boston, around our cruise ship terminals, for example. This information is then funneled into the national intel community with the goal of connecting the dots in order to detect emerging patterns, which are then broadcast to local law enforcement in order to avoid a potential attack against a U.S. port.
My name is Linda Moyer, and I work here on the Northeast 14th Street Causeway Bridge. What happened was a gentleman walked in the door without knocking or anything, and you're not supposed to come in this building at all. And he was coming up the steps, and I stopped him and said, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be in here." And he said, "Oh, no, I'm in college and we're studying bridges and how they work and whatnot." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, you can't be in here." And I walked down the steps and to the door with him, and he said, "Well, we'd like to know like how things operate and maybe see." And I said, "Well, you can't do that." I said, "If you have a problem or if you want to know anything about these bridges, you should call the Coast Guard or DOT perhaps." I said, "I don't even know who." And he had a vest on like he was a street worker, like he was working for DOT or that. And I felt that he was trying to look at all the things downstairs that function the bridge. And then another guy came walking up the street on the other side of the street, and the guy crossed over to meet him, and then they went down at the end, and they were down by my gates. And they just kept like looking at the gate situation there, and then every time I would open the bridge, they would go down under the bridge.
This is a good example of the kind of suspicious activity that we're looking for. It turned out that they had visited several bridges in the area over the Christmas boat parade week. And we now believe that that was a genuine surveillance of our bridge system. Now, with your efforts, a lapse like that will not happen again.
I'm Sheriff Ken Jenney of Broward County, Florida. I need your help, and law enforcement across this country need your help. We've got an opportunity to really find out what's going on in the harbors and waterways of our country if you help. Because the one thing I've learned as Sheriff of Broward County and as part of the law enforcement community, we can no longer do our job alone. We have to have the help of good citizens like you to give us information, because I'll guarantee you the information is going to be the thing that could very well protect this country. We need your help, we want it, and I'm going to encourage you to participate in this program.
In today's modern age of terrorism, the United States is faced with many enemies, including Al-Qaeda and other copycat groups. That's why we need you to remain alert now more than ever and report suspicious activity around our ports, waterfront, and critical infrastructure. Complacency may be inadvertently aiding the enemy. The United States Coast Guard is charged to be semper paratus, always ready. Today I charge you to be on guard around our ports and help support America's Waterway Watch.
It's a simple concept, but it needs you. We appreciate what you can do for this program, what you can do for America, and your role being a part of the shield of freedom that the Coast Guard is. Thank you very much.